The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. Stop. The smothering effect of Silver's power was broken at once. Gold felt warmth surround his body, and he recognized it as clearly and certainly as he recognized the voice that had spoken. Spirit's voice. The black shape in the reflection darkened, but the light in the cavern seemed to brighten by contrast. Gold's burden has been set, Spirit intoned, with quiet strength and command. You shall not add more than he can bear.
This worm has, by your design, become a burden to us both,
Silver replied contemptuously.
Here we find ourselves again, with your rescue being necessary. And from what? Not but another intervention that you have obligated me to make. Would I have otherwise wasted a moment on this feeble, dull-witted, capricious little meat sack?
You scorn a young vessel, reprimanded Spirit's voice. Yet in every human heart resides an eternal soul, breathed into being by the High King.
I will not indulge this!
Silver began, but Spirit cut him off, and authority resonated in her tone like a mighty bell. You will, Silver! For these earthly matters are rooted in eternal things. Good and evil, truth and falsehood, mercy and punishment. It is the human's lot to sort out, and mine to guide them. You have some claim as one affected by their actions, but not as a usurper. The black specter of Silver struggled wildly, as if held in place by an unseen force. When he managed to speak again, his words were practically grated out with a strain of immense effort.
Usurper! Am I now the usurper? What of these bipedal apes who daily rob their fellow animals of power with force and capsule balls? Before this, they were displacing us from our homes, and before that, stealing the pelts from off our dead backs.
Dominion is theirs by birthright. You may chafe against it, but the world was given to them, and they have long since taken it.
And see what comes of it!
Silver raged.
Too long has their dominion brought ruin. I will bring an end to it, my way, and no traitors to our kind will stop me.
The umber wings in Silver's reflection seemed now agonizingly taut, stretched to the breaking point, so that at any moment he might burst asunder. As Gold watched, suddenly a pair of shining ruby wings flared behind the shadow. With the same swiftness that fire banishes darkness, so also did the blazing wings extinguish the shadowed form in their radiance. And where Silver had been, the phoenix hovered, brilliant as an angel. Gold might have gawked dumbly at the reflection without ever thinking to turn around, but the mirror image began immediately to melt and obscure its contents. Gold thus turned from the ice wall with an effort of will to see if anyone was truly behind him. There she stood, still with outstretched wings that refracted color to rainbows, but no longer a bird of beauty and wonder. Spirit's form was again human, modest and unassuming from her shoulders inward. Gold fell into her before he knew it was happening, as though her arms were a gravity well. He did not mean to. He simply broke, and through the broken dam of his eyes flowed all the misery, bitterness, and despair that stemmed from his self-loathing. Spirit held him with tender patience as he sobbed and wailed into her chest minute after minute. He cried until his body was weak, and the inner hurt had subsided enough for him to mind his surroundings again. Spirit's arms around him were gentle and comforting, and against his cheek he thought he could feel soft, feathery down. I'm here, she would whisper now and then. I'm here. Gradually, Gold composed himself and stepped back. He looked at the creature across from him, who was at times reminiscent of a mother, and at other times something elusive and fey, and at still other times a fearsome guardian angel. Yet always she had remained a faithful friend, showing him kindness beyond what he deserved, giving love that he had not earned. Gold swallowed and looked down ashamedly. "I'm sorry," he murmured, not wanting to look away from Spirit, but unable to meet her eye. "For my shortcomings, for how little I've done in all this." "Oh, Gold, my Gold." Spirit smiled and put a warm arm around him. "Will you walk with me?" Gold obliged willingly, and step by step they moved further along Ice Path. Spirit's wings radiated a globe of light, which not only illuminated the way ahead, but kept the biting cold at length. Gold felt wonderfully warm, even down to his feet when he touched on the ice. Every time he found himself in Spirit's presence, his life essence would be renewed. Yet still, he could not set aside the thoughts that had long troubled him. "Silver's right, you know," he said unhappily. "That's when it hurts the most, when he tells the truth. I can't do anything on my own. The journey's most of the way over, and what have I really accomplished?" "The truth is not a weapon that it should be brandished to cause harm," Spirit replied. "That is how Silver has come to use it, ever since he first discovered that it can be made painful. But know truth, and you will see his distortions for what they are, and all that remains is a pitiable malice." Gold attempted to absorb the concept, but Silver's scorn of his smallness still lay potent upon his mind. "Do you regret not being a Pokemon trainer?" asked Spirit, divining his thoughts. "What if you had? What if you became the world's greatest master, stronger than Lance, stronger than all of Team Rocket put together, strong enough to beat down Claire, Karen, and even Silver?" As she spoke, they approached another glossy ice wall. Gold could see his reflection again, but like before, it contained more than just his image. He saw a vision that Spirit had offered him in his dream on the first day of the journey. It was of himself, seated on a high throne, watching a parade of his Pokémon march past. Each carried a power nearly beyond reckoning, a force of nature unto itself, whether it was water, wind, earth, or fire. All were under his unquestionable command, and with them he could alter the Earth's landscape, discover the secret thoughts and deeds of his fellow men, destroy threats, grant wishes, reshape reality. He had rejected this vision the first time, for it portrayed power without need, and fame without a cause, something empty and soulless. Now, however, there really was a need to pause and consider the hypothetical. He was wiser to the world, to its manifold corruptions, and the real dangers it posed to the weak. And despite the especially corrupting influence that power seemed to have on the strong, he knew that there were yet benevolent trainers like Lance who used it only to fight evil. And if Lance could, then why not Gold? Couldn't he serve the cause of good from a position of strength and not just weakness? "I could do it," Gold whispered aloud, as much to himself as to Spirit. "If I were in control, I could make sure that Faulkner never again dropped a Pokémon to its death, and Bugsy never allowed another mutilation, nor Whitney or any of the others. I'd put them behind bars with Team Rocket, and also the people like Karen who enable them, and Silver." He trailed off, uncertain of what to do about Silver. The quarantine of prison, and the occasional execution were usually sufficient to punish people and deter future crimes. But silver was another matter entirely. For as long as the Lugia lived, and he would likely outlast Gold's grandchildren, Silver would never cease his vendetta against mankind. Gold did not claim confidence in many things, but of this he had no doubt in his heart. What then? What would remove the threat of his dark influence, short of hunting and killing him? Gold blinked. The answer was obvious to any self-respecting Pokemon trainer. "I'd capture him in a master-quality Pokeball," he said. "An unbreakable one, if anything like it really exists beyond rumors, and I'd never ever let him out." Spirit smiled, but there was a knowing sadness behind it. "Your workaround alternative to his death is driven by mercy, but ultimately, death would be kinder for all. He would sleep in stasis, undisturbed, for as long as his capsule could resist the degradation of time. But were it to be breached before the world's end, by calamity or human hand, he would emerge every bit as hateful and deadly as the moment he was contained." "But you are timeless," Gold protested. "You would be there to stop him again, right?" "And thus the cycle would continue," Spirit affirmed. "It would only have been delayed." "Yeah, but think of what could be done in his absence," Gold pressed, as an entirely new thought struck him. "Alan betrayed Marina and Jinichi to Koga. I never saw it coming because I got to see what he was like at first when left alone. That Pokemon-affecting signal of Team Rocket's was disrupting Silver's mind powers in the area at the time. Alan wanted to be the top trainer of Johto's highest-level gym, but I seriously doubt he'd have given us up for the privilege after seeing me revive Onyx. I saw the truth in his eyes." Gold tightened his fist. "Everyone Silver ever affected would have time to amend the wrongs they had done while under his influence." "Indeed," Spirit agreed, yet in her tone was reservation. "If they would."